Hello and welcome to the Deep Dive. Today, we're tackling a topic I know is on a lot of minds, navigating the residency interview process.
Yeah, it can feel pretty overwhelming.
Definitely. Even painful sometimes, right?
Yeah.
So our mission today is really just to distill our experiences and hopefully make it a little less daunting for you.
Sounds good.
I'm Christine Su, and I'm thrilled to be joined by my good friend, Xiaowei Lo, also my interview buddy from back then.
Hi, everyone. I'm Xiaowei Lo.
Yeah.
Yeah, Christine and I both graduated in 2024.
Yeah.
Since then, I've been doing a Master's of Public Health up at Harvard.
Right.
And pretty excitingly, this past year, I matched with the Cleveland Clinic.
Yeah.
So, yeah, hopefully our combined experiences can, offer some useful insights.
Exactly. And we've also tapped into some expert advice on prep, though they won't be speaking directly today. But we've gathered a lot of info.
Yeah, definitely.
So we're going to start by outlining the general format, the process of these interviews. Then we'll get into common questions, strategies we found helpful.
Yep.
After that, some FAQs, our own answers, how we prepped, background stuff, scheduling tactics.
The whole 9 yards.
Pretty much. And finally, just reflecting on the whole experience, managing the stress. Because, there's stress. Yeah. For sure. Okay, so let's jump right in. What does the typical structure, what's that process like for a residency interview?
Right, yeah. So from what I remember, a typical interview day, it ends up being about, half a day all told.
Half a day, okay.
Yeah, and it usually kicks off with like this hour-long presentation.
Oh yeah, who gives that?
It's usually the program director, or maybe the chief resident.
Gotcha.
And they basically walk you through the curriculum, research stuff, all the program details.
The essentials.
Exactly. Then after that, you move into the formal interview part, which is usually like 1 to 3 interviewers.
Okay.
And each of those sessions, maybe 15 to 30 minutes long. You might talk to an APD, maybe a chief resident again in one of those slots.
Right, right. And in between those, you're often in like a shared virtual room, right? Yeah. Where you can chat with the current residents.
Yeah, exactly. It's kind of like a waiting room, but you get to talk to the people actually in the program, ask informal questions.
Which is super useful.
Totally. And then when it's your turn, someone just pulls you into a private breakout room.
And some places even let you sit in on conferences. Like I heard Cleveland Clinic let people join a journal club.
Yeah, that's right. Which is honestly a fantastic way to get a real feel for their teaching, their academic vibe.
That's cool.
Yeah. And building on that, beyond the main presentation and the attending interviews, you might also get interviewed by the chief resident, or maybe even a current resident.
Trying to see if you'd fit in as a colleague, basically.
Exactly. They want to know if you'd be a good fit. And then there are those resident greeting sessions.
Ah, yes. The meet and greets. Are those actually scored?
Well, not always formally scored. Some programs even say that explicitly, but I've heard from upperclassmen that they often get surveys after.
Oh, really?
Yeah, asking for their impressions, like would this person be a good fit, or, any red flags. So definitely worth taking them seriously.
Good point. So how did you approach those?
Mindset-wise, I treated them like part of the interview. Absolutely. For me, I lean a bit introverted, not the biggest talker.
Yeah.
So I made sure to ask at least one genuine question and just, keep a smile on.
Right.
But key thing, don't ask weird or forced questions just to talk. You don't want to seem fake.
Definitely not.
And also, super important, don't hog the floor. If you have a bunch of questions, maybe wait, let others speak first. Don't look selfish.
Good advice. Okay, so once you're in the formal interviews, did you find they mostly stuck to standard questions? Or was it more like casual conversation?
In my experience, I did 17 programs. Maybe 3 were almost all casual chat. Very unstructured.
Oh, wow.
But even then, you could usually kind of tell what they were trying to figure out. Most of the time, though, pretty standard questions. Or stuff directly from my personal statement.
Well, yeah, makes sense.
But I also think, it might depend on your personality. Since I'm not great at small talk, maybe that pushed them towards structure.
Could be.
But the big thing to remember is interviews are two-way. Your responses really shape the whole vibes.
True.
I've heard people say, the ideal interview feels like chatting with a friend.
Yeah.
But obviously, it's still your chance to show your best self, your strengths, your personality. How about you? Did you get more casual chats?
Definitely. Yeah, our styles are different. You know that. My interviews also had plenty of standard questions. You could almost feel them ticking off a mental checklist sometimes, like 5 key questions. But once they got through those, yeah, if there was extra time or maybe they just ran out of things to ask, it often turned more casual, or they just give me time for my questions.
Right.
And that casual chat varied too. Some used it to dig deeper, like they'd look at my CV, the resume basically, and ask about volunteering. What was that like? That's small talk territory.
Yeah, totally.
Then others seemed more, I don't know, laid back, asking about TV shows, pets, totally random stuff. Sometimes it felt like maybe they were a bit jaded, you know?
Yeah, I could see that.
So yeah, like you said, you need the standard answers ready. But for casual bits, you got to improvise.
For sure.
Okay, so let's dig into some of those common questions and prep strategies. What questions did you get asked the most?
The real workhorses. Definitely. Why our program? Where do you see yourself in 10 years? And some version of what are your strengths? Or why should we pick you?
The classics.
Yeah, those first 2 especially felt like they were on almost everyone's list. Other common ones, strengths, values, sometimes a quick self-intro.
Tell me about yourself.
Interestingly, yeah, tell me about yourself came up, but maybe not quite as much as I expected. And almost always behavioral questions.
Right, the tell me about a time when questions.
Exactly. Like, tell me about a mistake you made, or describe teamwork experience. Super standard.
Yeah, that all tracks with my experience too. And that why our program, one, it can show up in disguise, right? Like, how'd you hear about us? Or, ever been to New York? Know anyone here?
Totally. They're trying to figure out your ties, how likely you are to actually rank them high.
Which is huge for them. You gotta show real interest.
Absolutely. And for the 10 years question, be ready for follow-ups. Like about fellowship plans, or if you want to do research during residency. They want to see if your goals fit their program.
Makes sense. Did they grill you much on your CV specifics?
Yes and no. It wasn't usually super intense. Some would say, oh, I read your CV, I know the basics. Others might ask for a clarification on something.
Like what?
For me, the podcast I did came up the most. They seemed curious about it.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. And I got asked more about my USCE, U.S. clinical experience than like past jobs or leadership roles.
Interesting. For me, one person asked super open-ended, besides your CV, anything else I should know? And another hit me with, what's the key to good mapo tofu?
No way, mapo tofu.
Seriously.
Yeah.
So yeah, be ready for anything. I also had 2 papers published, and I got asked point blank to summarize each one. Tell me about this paper.
Wow, okay.
Turned out they were related to the interviewer's field, so we chatted more. But yeah, they can ask about anything. I listed aromatherapy as a hobby once, and someone asked if I made candles.
Haha. Okay, so expect the unexpected.
Yeah.
Got it. Any resources you found particularly helpful for prepping?
Yeah, where did you look for help?
Definitely. For me, the Taiwanese student community was huge. Our Facebook groups, online platforms, people share so much about their successful experiences. I read tons of those posts.
That's great.
For more general stuff, YouTube was my go-to. Channels like The Match Guy, Manic Madan, super helpful. They have mock interviews, strategy tips.
Yeah, I've seen those.
And The Match Guy has a website too, with this massive list, like over 200 sample questions. Covers pretty much everything.
Wow.
But honestly, in my experience, most programs stick to fairly standard stuff. Nothing too crazy. Like, I never got asked, what would you do if you won the lottery?
Yeah, those weird hypotheticals.
Right. Or if you could talk to a tree.
Well,
I never got those, even though some guides mention them. Maybe it varies.
probably does. It really depends how much time you have, how deep you want to go with resources.
Exactly.
So, okay, overall strategy. What's the general advice for starting prep?
Well, the usual advice is, like, get your content organized first, your stories, experiences.
Right.
One way is figure out your top 3 selling points, right?
Yeah.
And have stories for each. Or you could group stories by traits: leadership, teamwork, empathy, whatever.
Yeah, that makes sense because most questions are getting at those traits anyway.
Exactly. So if you have stories ready, you can adapt them. Now, how to prep those stories? The common advice is bullet points.
Right, so you sound more natural.
Yeah, lets you adapt if they ask a weird follow-up.
Yeah.
But I know your method was different.
Yeah, it was. I actually wrote full scripts, like full answers.
Full scripts, wow.
Yeah, whenever I had downtime, I'd just write out answers. Even if it was the same basic story, I'd tweak the script for different ways the question might be asked. So you ended up with...
Over 300 pages in a PDF of scripts.
Whoa.
I tried to memorize the best ones, practice them over and over until they sounded, well, as natural as possible.
Why go that route? Seems intense.
2 main reasons, really. 1, I'm just not super confident speaking English spontaneously. 2, I talk kind of slow, so I wanted to be really clear, concise, efficient. Didn't want them tuning out.
Okay, that makes sense. Our strategies were definitely polar opposites. I couldn't imagine memorizing all that. Did you ever actually try to read from a script in the interview?
Honestly,
Yeah.
not really feasible. It just doesn't flow right if you're reading. Maybe 2 very specific times.
Like when?
First, maybe the self-introduction. Since it's the very first question, nerves are high. You can maybe have notes below the webcam, glance down. But you need tons of practice.
Yeah, otherwise it's super obvious. Reflections in glasses, weird eye movements.
Exactly. You might get caught. But maybe doable for just that first one. Second time could be when you're asking questions at the end.
Ah, right. So you don't forget what you wanted to ask?
Yeah, just having prompts might help then.
Yeah.
But for most of it, you just don't know where the conversation's going. Even with my 300 pages, I wasn't flipping through it.
Yeah, I bet.
Before each interview, I'd mentally rehearse. Like, okay, personality question. I'd outline the structure, setup, turning point, reflection, memorize keywords, maybe key phrases.
So you could speak more spontaneously within that frame.
Exactly.
Right.
Because stumbling over a script line, that would feel way more awkward. So for you not using scripts, how did you make sure you didn't sound, well, scripted?
Yeah, that's tricky. For me, it was more about knowing the key story points, the core message, the impactful details. Then I practiced telling it different ways.
Oh, okay.
Like explaining the same thing to different friends, using slightly different words each time. It helped internalize it without memorizing word for word.
Makes sense.
I also recorded myself practicing. Listening back helped catch where I sounded too stiff. Then I'd try again, more relaxed. But for you, with scripts, how did you avoid sounding robotic?
That's a really good point. My main tool, ChatGPT.
Oh yeah, how so?
I'd paste my rough script in, ask it to rewrite it more naturally, conversationally. I'd even say, make this take about 90 seconds.
Yeah, getting specific.
Yeah, because I talk slow. I'd ask it to adjust the word count. Then once I had a better script, practice.
Yeah.
Trying to add fillers like, natural body language.
Did it work?
Mostly. I mean, I was still aware I might sound a bit rehearsed sometimes, but that was a trade-off. The scripts gave me confidence in being clear.
Right.
And actually, a career coach at Harvard told me sounding slightly robotic isn't the biggest deal for IMGs. As long as you're understandable, clear, it's usually okay. Interviewers look for different things.
That's reassuring. You mentioned using ChatGPT. Any other ways you used it?
Yeah, 2 main things. Polishing scripts, like I said, but also, and I think I got this tip from you, generating potential questions.
Oh, right. Feed it your CV and personal statement.
Exactly. Ask, from an interviewer's view, what would you ask based on this? I came up with some really good ones I hadn't thought of.
That's clever.
And the mobile app, the voice feature. Great for practicing answers out loud. Simulates talking in real time, helps with flow and timing.
Nice. Did you do a lot of mock interviews with actual people, too?
Oh, absolutely crucial. Tons of them. Practice with friends applying the same year, like you, people through UAC.
Yeah, those were helpful.
And since I was at Harvard, other IMGs there applying. Seniors from the Taiwanese Kandiarati community residents, attending their perspectives were gold.
Wow, diverse group.
Yeah. Plus the CMGA mock interview program, sessions with Harvard career coaches. I think in total, over 30 mock sessions.
30? That's dedication.
I'm super grateful to everyone who helped, especially upperclassmen. One thing, though, that first mock with someone, usually the most valuable. You get the raw feedback.
True. It gets less effective with the same person over time.
Yeah, the impact kind of diminishes if you keep asking the same questions.
Right.
So if you practice multiple times with someone like we did, it helps to have a specific focus each time.
Like today, let's just do research questions.
Exactly. Or let's nail the self-intro. Just focus until it feels smooth. Also, Trusted Mentorship Group does mocks around late October, which is great timing.
Yeah.
By then, you've had some practice, know what you need to work on. Getting feedback then is super helpful. Oh, and I had weekly 2-hour English tutoring online just for interview practice.
Wow, so like 3-4 mock sessions a week?
Pretty much, yeah, with different people.
Did either of us use paid mock interview services?
Nope. These seemed pretty expensive, so neither of us went that route.
Right. So when prepping for different programs, how did you tailor things? Make yourself seem like a really good fit for that specific place.
Okay, yeah, for the why this program question, my process was kind of like this. First, connections. If I knew someone there, I'd mention it. Dr. So-and-so told me about XYZ, and that's exactly what I'm looking for.
Smart.
Then, specifics. Stuff from their website, social media, friends. Sprinkle those in. Highlight their unique strengths, things that stood out.
And link it back to you?
Crucial step.
Right.
Link their strengths to my career goals. Like, your strong fellowship placement in field is key for me because, or if it's academic, research their faculty.
Mention specific professors.
Definitely, if their work genuinely interests me. I'm really interested in Dr. Name's research on. If there's time, maybe mention the location, especially if I have ties. I have friends in the city.
So the key is tailoring, being specific.
Totally. Make them feel you've done your homework, you really want their program. Like, you uniquely offer X or your match in Y is a major draw.
And adjust for academic versus community focus.
Yeah. Academic program. Lean into academic interests, use academic stories, community program, emphasize continuity of care, service, maybe less focus on research.
Listening to you, I feel like you're guaranteed to get in anywhere, knowing specific faculty research.
Wow.
Wow. You clearly know what you want.
Uh-huh. Well, I tried to be prepared.
For me, since I wasn't as research-heavy or aiming for a super competitive fellowship, my angle was different. If a program was strong in community outreach or med, I'd highlight that.
Makes sense. Play to their strengths and your interests.
Exactly. I'm impressed by your outreach initiatives, or your med-ed resources are amazing. Mention something specific they offer that maybe others don't.
Good strategy.
Okay, let's tackle some of those specific common questions. Self-introductions. How long? Multiple versions. This one drove me crazy.
Oh, man. Tell me about it. The self-intro is so tricky. Everyone gives different advice.
Right. Lead with strength. No, keep it short and friendly. Highlight accomplishments. No, focus on stuff outside the resume.
Exactly. Trying to cram all that into like 60, 90 seconds felt impossible. How do you check all those boxes?
So what did you end up doing?
I decided, okay, they've probably read my CV, so I'll focus on who I am outside the resume. I basically made one main version aimed for 90 seconds.
Just one. Okay. What was the structure?
Quick one-liner.
Yep.
Name, origin, current activity. Then a bit about why medicine, why the U.S. Then a short, meaningful personal story. Something unique to me.
Personal story, okay.
And if there was time, maybe a quirky hobby at the end. So yeah, not really focused on selling achievements from the CV, more about being memorable with personal stuff.
That makes sense. Like you said earlier, memorable moments are key. We revised ours too many times.
Felt like 5,000 times.
And we test them. Ask friends, what do you remember? If we packed too much in, they remembered nothing, so we cut it down to the sticky parts.
Good point. Keep it focused.
And talk about something you're comfortable elaborating on. Because if the interview goes casual, they might just ask you more about whatever you mentioned in your intro.
Oh yeah, definitely. Be ready for follow-ups.
Okay, what are your strengths? How did you tackle that one?
My approach. Pick one key strength, something valued in medicine, explain it really well, back it up with a memorable story.
Example.
I often use leadership, then shared a specific leadership story. If I needed a second, maybe time management.
Okay. And weaknesses. Tread carefully here.
Yeah, very carefully. I only got asked maybe 2 or 3 times total. Not super common, but be ready.
What's the key?
Choose something that's not, like, critical for the job or teamwork. And importantly, something you're actively working on. You got to explain how you're improving. Frame it as growth.
Right, the improvement journey.
Exactly. And the mindset. Don't try to impress with your weakness. Just don't lose points. Be solid, thoughtful, safe. Avoid fatal flaws.
Like impatience.
Yeah, or a short temper, unless you can really show concrete improvement. Save or bet. Something like, used to be nervous speaking in groups, but I worked on it by doing X, Y, Z. Focus on what you did to grow.
Gotcha. Focus on the action, the growth. What about the biggest challenge or challenging case question?
Oof, yeah. Honestly, that depends so much on your experiences. No magic formula. Just got to dig into your history.
How did you categorize them?
For me, I thought about 2 buckets. Medically challenging cases and interpersonal or ethical dilemmas.
Okay.
One case I shared was about a patient needing a 24-hour IV but wanting a shower, causing conflict with the nurse.
Ah, tricky situation.
Yeah. So I looked for alternatives, found another treatment that worked without continuous IV, presented it, team agreed, resolved it for the patient, then apologized to the nurse to smooth things over.
Nice. So it's not always about the complex medicine.
Exactly. Seniors told me it's not about the most complex case ever. It's about your role. Could be a social issue you help solve, your contribution to the team.
And structure it well, like the STAR method.
Yeah, STAR is perfect for this. Situation, task, action, result. Gives it a clear flow.
Good reminder.
And another tip. If you talk about a patient, always mention the outcome. What happened to them. Shows you care.
Right. How did you find these stories?
Mock interviews,
Right.
talking with friends. You help each other refine them.
Yeah.
Sometimes the story sounds bland, but a friend suggests adding one detail, and boom, much better.
And borrowing ideas.
Yeah, other people's stories can spark ideas or show you a good structure. Just make sure the core experience is yours, obviously.
Makes sense. Okay, switching gears. Questions to ask them. How do you approach that?
Main thing, ask stuff you're genuinely curious about. Don't just try to show off.
Examples.
Like, I see you're affiliated with X medical school. What are the opportunities for residents to teach students? Or are there chances for residents to do procedures like central lines? Shows you want to learn skills.
So it reveals something about you too.
Exactly. Shows you did research, shows your interests, teaching, skills, simulation. Does your program offer sim training like POCUS?
What about community service?
Yeah. I'm passionate about outreach. Are there volunteer opportunities for residents? Shows your values.
Good points. Do you research the interviewers themselves?
Definitely helps. AMG or IMG, where they train, career path. If someone's been there a long time, stayed on as faculty.
Ask them why.
Yeah. What's kept you at this program for so long? Lets them share positive stuff, reveals culture. Usually you get the interviewer list about a week before. Check the program website.
Any questions to avoid?
Well, I heard asking too much about research can backfire if you're not genuinely interested. Don't just flatter.
Right?
And I was advised not to ask the PD, what changes do you see in 5 years? Apparently they get tired of that one.
Okay. Good to know. What if they've already covered everything?
I actually had that happen. Interviewed with a PD known to be kind of stern. If you asked something already covered, they'd apparently shut you down.
Ouch.
So I was super careful. In the end, I just said, honestly, you covered everything really clearly, and I spoke to residents earlier, so I don't have further questions right now.
That was okay.
Totally fine. They didn't seem offended at all. So if you genuinely have no questions, it's okay to say so respectfully.
What if you're blanking?
ChatGPT can help. Give me insightful questions for a residency interview. Pick a few non-generic ones that actually interest you.
And have extras ready.
Yeah, because sometimes you finish early, have 10, 15 minutes left. They say, ask me anything. Having good questions ready can lead to better conversation.
Like your geriatrics example.
Exactly. Interviewer seemed reserved. Then I mentioned geriatrics, and they lit up. Oh, let me tell you about our program. We had a great chat. You never know what will click.
So true. Okay, we've hit the formal stuff hard. What about just casual small talk? Did you prep for that too? To seem friendly?
Yeah, like how's the weather? I did think about basic icebreakers. What did you do last weekend? Had a few casual stories ready.
Just to fill potential awkward moments.
Pretty much. Or answer things like, what do you do for fun? Have easy, relatable answers. Small talk wasn't my comfort zone initially.
Me neither. I just say, great to how are you? And freeze.
Yeah. But a senior told me, those little moments matter for first impressions. She suggested being honest. A little nervous, but really excited to be here.
That's good. Shows enthusiasm.
Or, been looking forward to learning about your program. Reinforce interest. And at the end, thanks so much for your time. Really hope to learn more. Keep the enthusiasm going.
How did you approach just showing your personality in those moments?
Honestly, hard to consciously multitask like that.
Yeah.
If I'm focused on small talk, I can't also be thinking, okay, project personality.
True.
So I didn't plan it much. If they wanted to chat, I just engaged genuinely. Trusted my normal personality would come through okay.
Right, don't overthink it.
But yeah, when it goes casual, bring energy. Be cheerful, smile, friendly tone, that helps.
I remember getting feedback in a mock interview.
Oh yeah.
The resident said, I can see you as a competent doctor, but I can't tell what kind of person you are, what you'd be like to work with.
Ooh, that's insightful.
Big eye-opener. Show you're a good teammate, approachable, supportive. So yeah, weave in personal anecdotes maybe.
Like your Himalayas hiking plan.
Exactly. I hadn't even gone yet, just training for it. Mentioned it and interviewers thought it would be cool. A good icebreaker. Something unique, memorable.
Yeah, helps you connect.
Okay, practical stuff. Interview setup, camera, lighting, audio. Any tips?
Yes. Camera at eye level. Huge difference. Use an external webcam on your monitor, not looking down at a laptop.
Right. Avoids the unflattering angle.
I tried extra lighting, but wearing glasses. Reflections were a nightmare. Tried a ring light, couldn't get the angle right.
The glasses glare struggle.
Totally. Ended up getting a webcam with adjustable brightness. Worked fine even if the room wasn't super bright. Didn't need anything fancy.
And audio.
Started with earphones with a built-in mic. but avoided big gaming headphones. Someone said they looked unprofessional in practice.
Good call.
Switched later to a small clip-on mic with a phone cover. Sounded decent. Didn't need a high-end mic. My regular earphone mic was okay too.
Yeah, I found positioning the webcam slightly above eye level often looks better.
Yeah.
And I used an external USB mic. Friends said it sounded way clearer than my laptops, so maybe worth getting even a basic external one.
Good point. Clear audio is important.
What about your background? What did you use?
I was living off campus, student budget, so plain white wall mostly.
Same here sometimes.
For some, I had a calligraphy scroll hanging up. Sometimes decor like that becomes a talking point, an icebreaker if they notice.
True. Or you could subtly place hobby stuff.
Could do, but mostly plain white wall. Don't think they paid much attention. Some friends put up pet photos, puzzles, occasionally sparked conversation. So, either works. Strategic background is an option, but probably not crucial.
Okay, let's talk scheduling. Invites, timeline. When did that all happen?
Applications end of September, right? First invite for me was mid-October. Started hearing back first, second week of October.
Heat period.
Late October to early November, probably. Seemed earlier than seniors had told me. Maybe invites are getting earlier each year.
Could be. Any really late ones?
One. End of January, like 27th or 28th. Emailed, asking if I could interview the next week. Definitely an outlier. Most are done by November.
How did you decide the order of your interviews? Any strategy?
Generally, yeah. Scheduled programs I was less keen on first. Practice runs, basically.
Like save the best for last?
Kinda. Top choices went into late November, December. I actually hesitated and pushed my #1 and #2 to late December, right before and after Christmas.
Risky, maybe? Burnout time.
Exactly my thinking.
Yeah.
Wanted to be super prepared, but timing isn't always in your control. Some lower ranked ones sent invites late, so I had to schedule them later anyway.
Any regrets about the timing?
Yeah, small one. Harvard had winter break. I traveled, already did a bunch of interviews. Was feeling burned out post-Christmas. Motivation dipped. My post-Christmas interview is definitely not my best. So, yeah, hindsight. Maybe don't schedule top choices right after Christmas. Late Nov to mid to hell seems safer.
Good tip. And be realistic about the number.
Totally. I got quite a few, which was great, but led to serious burnout by the end.
How many interviews per week feels manageable?
3 is probably max. Even that's draining, especially if they're clumped together. Imagine 2 back-to-back. Writing thank yous for one, prepping for the next. Chaos.
Yeah, stick to 3 max per week. Good rule. What about thank you letters? When did you send those?
ASAP. Same day as the interview, ideally. Emailed everyone I spoke with, plus the PD.
Personalize them.
Try to. Reference something specific from the chat, help them remember me. Reiterate enthusiasm. Enjoyed our discussion about X, or our conversation on Y resonated.
What if the program says not to send them?
Then don't.
Yeah.
Respect their policy if they explicitly state it, website, interview day. To maintain fairness, we don't consider thank you letters.
But otherwise, better to send one.
Yeah, generally better to send a thoughtful note than nothing, and jot down notes immediately after the interview. What they asked, how you answered, helps personalize the thank you later.
Right. And during that season, constantly checking email for invites. You had to act fast, right?
Oh yeah. Glue to the inbox. Get an invite, schedule immediately.
Because slots disappear.
Instantly. Hesitated once or twice, went back, best times were gone.
Same here. Act fast, grab a good slot, join waitlists if needed, check for cancellations.
Definitely. Okay, what about letters of interest, LOIs? If you haven't heard from a top choice, should you send one? Did it work?
My philosophy. Unless they specifically say not to send LOIs, website, resident info, then probably worth it.
Worst case, they ignore it.
Exactly. Depends on your time and energy. If you have capacity, send them to high-interest programs. Pursue every chance.
How many did you send?
Maybe around 50 total.
Oh.
Focused on programs high on my list. I watched Reddit for invite waves. Smart. See who's sending.
Yeah. If a top choice started sending in my specialty and I hadn't heard, send an LOI right away.
Did you notice a pattern?
Potentially.
Yeah.
Several times I got an invite about a week after sending an LOI, and when I scheduled, preferred slots were gone. Made me think maybe my LOI got me a later invite after the first batch.
Interesting theory.
It's to guess. But probably don't spam them. One good LOI is usually enough. Some PDs might not like too many follow-ups.
Good point. Okay, final topic. Managing the stress. Did you feel overwhelmed? How'd you cope?
Trying to seem calm, sure. But honestly, looking back, that whole season was tough. First formal interview process, all in English. Yeah, stress was real. constantly worried I wouldn't do well.
How'd you adjust your mindset?
Reminded myself,
Yeah.
yes, try to stand out, but it's not the end of the world if I don't get into every program. Also, this pressure for amazing stories. Sometimes I just felt ordinary.
Yeah, like I'm just a med student who studies hard, did some research, no heroic tales.
Exactly. Had to accept that's okay. You can find meaningful stories in everyday stuff with reflection. But unexpected questions happen. My mantra became, just don't mess up too badly, be normal, authentic.
Haha, lower the bar slightly.
Kinda.
Yeah.
And remember, they probably only recall 1 or 2 things anyway. Don't need to ace every single question. If one answer bombed, let it go.
Focusing on progress helped me too.
Oh yeah, you feel yourself improving with each mock, each practice session. That builds confidence.
And trusting the interviewers.
Huge one for me. Give them credit, their experience, they interview tons of people, they can read potential, no need to over-polish or act. Trust they see your genuine qualities. That mindset helped my anxiety a lot.
That's really good advice. So as we wrap up this deep dive on residency interviews, hopefully sharing our experiences, our insights, has given you a clearer picture, some strategies to navigate it.
Yeah, I hope it helps make it feel a bit less overwhelming.
Remember, prep is key, but let your personality come through too. Trust your experiences, trust the interviewers can see your potential.
Absolutely.
Hopefully you feel a bit more equipped now, maybe a little less stressed as you approach your own interviews.